I am Eon, and it is time to look again at May 2025 fantasy releases. This is review number 2. Let's see what's updated, or maybe that I kind of skipped over in the first place. First up, we're going to start with 3D Art Guy, and I'll admit a little confusion here, but I believe this was released as part of the Tribe release 2 here. So I'm not sure if there's some people do a different release on Patreon, some on Tribes. But this release here was put together and I thought was worth noting. Aether Studio has continued throughout the month. Now we have some more jungle set, which I think we saw some of before. We also saw earlier renders of this Elven Towers and Potion Shop, but now they're a lot higher in detail. In addition, we have some new things such as Manor. Comes with various parts of the building, as well as some accent pieces. Then we have the Bone Barrows. And a Makami roof. Looks to be both in regular repair, disrepair, or kind of destroyed. We have some lava caves and shroom caves. You know, for all you fungi. And a peaceful thicket hills. Bite the Bullet Studio has put out this preview of the Cleric Wendigo, which is their spring season reward for those of you that have joined for March, April, and May. Custom Miniature Maker has the Jungle Temple Golem. Gamescape 3D has put out a little bit more of the Mott, and I believe the Mott is basically this hill as I understand it. It is not the tower on top, I think that's from last month, as well as the bridge. And I just want to say Gamescape has just beautiful work, like all their pieces work together to create an entire scene. And I really love the modeling. Now, they have videos on their YouTube channel you can go watch, and they show here that the area in the hill actually is a playable space. So that is just really cool. And this is many, many pieces all printed together. But once it's painted and flocked, you can't tell, can you? Ghamak has put out a little bit more about their fantasy release. From the Exiled Court, we see the Path of Death Vampire. Also with the Exiled Court, we have some Imperial Zombies. Just when you think your service was done, it keeps on going, right? Imitation of Life Miniatures has been working on Cultists for the month of May. And here's some detail work of those. And remember, these are 15mm miniatures, so a little bit smaller than your standard miniature. And here's the entire set, which was put out basically in about 2 releases this month. Lost Kingdom Miniatures has put out Warriors of the Dark Gods Volume 4. They like to keep their stuff kind of hidden, but it takes a little bit of digging, but I came through for you. Here we see the Heavy Weapon Barbarian Chief and the Heavy Weapon Barbarian Command Group. Command groups are always a champion, a musician, and a bannerman, usually. We have the Wasteland War Mammoth and the Wasteland Woolly Trihorn. Pretty impressive models. Mini Monster Mayhem has put out some bonus models, if I understand correctly. So this here, we see this dragon, along with a phoenix type bird, as well as a dinosaur. A flame shooting dinosaur at that. Miniatureland has put out a few more renders for this month. We see the Marauder Fighting Pit. Fighting Pit? I think that's just a typo. Roman Bridge. Pretty simple and yet elegant. And a raised swamp walkway. So you put several of these together and you have a path through the swamp. Moonlight Minis, I think I had it wrong in the first video. They are actually doing the Braided Brotherhood Part 2 this month. So this is, and again, I apologize for the quality here, but this is what was posted. So it's just a few preview images, and hey, you guys, he looks familiar. And so does he. So we have a few noticeable people, as well as some more. Here's some more of the Braided Brotherhood. NPC Forge has put out Mistman of the Archanaut Wraith Rightwake. Here's Captain Eric Greywake Mar, Echo Pilot Thrina Vale, Tiefling Crewman, a Human Crewman, and a Half-Orc Crewman. One Page Rules is still releasing some things this month. This month for Fantasy, we're looking at Wood Elves. So here is pretty much the release of Wood Elves that you can expect to get. We have for Age of Fantasy Quest, a Human Cleric and some desert area terrain. We have a Glade Leader, War Master, as well as a Glade Leader, Forest Warden. Notice they come in both male and female options, which is pretty typical for OPR. Here we have the Forest Watch, Eternal Bug Riders. Does that mean they're always riding the bugs? Here more Eternal Bug Riders and Eternal Guardian Ancients. This does not do them to scale if we look at the previous image at the beginning of everything. And then we have themed bases as well as some game aids as well that are themed, of course, to the Wood Elves. Papal 3D has put out a little bit better images than what I had before, so I wanted to share those. This is the Black Wraith of Despair. Very obvious to the Witch King, I would say. And of course, there are some people fighting against him with axes or spears or whatever they have available, as well as hunkered down. There was also these additional STLs of some villagers. Always enjoy having villagers around. Primal Collectibles has put out the May release with Legacy of Blood. Here we see Drakov and Theron Stormholt. With the weapon in his hand, I'm kind of getting more Castlevania vibes here. But I thought this was supposed to be more like Ravenloft. Maybe just a general amalgam of all these things. Here's Matthias Stormholt and Dr. Evander Vane. Albric Temmer and Tiveria. Brain Stealer. So again, I'm kind of going back towards D&D here, and Moonwing. Printed Legends is new to my videos. Here we have basically, I didn't even look up what it was called, I forget, but basically like a brood mother. Cannot tell if this was just the babies holding on or if they're coming out of the... But dear God, help us all if that's in the sewers. Yeah, it's a brood mother, flesh nest. That is a terrifying image, and it comes with a module, of course. Print and Paint Miniatures this month has put out the Runic Pathway. A couple of busts. Printing Goes Ever On may just sucker me back in this month, and a lot of it's for my fear of missing out. Because look, we have episode 1, Guests at the Door. And are we starting over? I had to go do some research, and I'm not entirely sure. says, welcomes a traveling party of dwarves as they set out on an adventure. RPG tier members will attend a Halfling Spring Goose Festival. I'm intrigued. So I suppose, and look, we have an entire bag end, basically. A little bit different style door, though. Not a round door. That's kind of sad. Now, I have no idea which one is supposed to be which dwarf, because I'm pretty sure this is all based, of course, on The Hobbit. Each one comes in a mounted variety and an on-foot variety. And for the RPG tier, this is the Halfling Spring Goose Festival. Rise of the Honk. We're going to look at some of these miniatures, but not quite all of them. And I'll be honest, when I saw the farmland cottage here, I'm intrigued. I kind of like that too. Spriggans are interesting characters, pumpkin sprites. The farm animals would be pretty cool to have in your repertoire, in your library, I think. You pretty much have the whole gamut of the typical animals on the farm. Farmland scatter terrain, west farthing, northern farthing, I just now see that. Some sculpted bases with pumpkins. And here we have some sick farm animals. They seem to be a little bit more than just sick. And an animated giant scarecrow, if only he had a brain, right? A forest troll, a phase hound. So good mix of things here. There's a weregoose, a swarm of rats. So I got a couple more days in May to think about it, but I don't know. Maybe coming back to printing goes ever on. Punga Miniatures is doing Dragon's Fists. Rescale Miniatures is doing Totem of the Scale Wings. So there's all the releases. Not the best quality pictures there, sorry y'all. So let's look at a couple of better renders. And I do recall that I was kind of distracted as I was putting all this together, so it didn't put a whole lot of them together. But definitely go check them out if you're more interested in that. RNE Studio is one of those creators that has different things on Patreon than on Tribes. If you back on Tribes, you get Pinnacle State Neon Volume 2. Seems to be a samurai Asian-inspired set here. Definitely quite a few models there. RPG Figures for the month of May is doing the Bloodsucker. Remember, RPG Figures is pretty much a 1 miniature fantasy and 1 miniature sci-fi per month. Sculptooner is doing Air Elementals. So there is the entire release all in one. And usually Sculptooner releases a little bit more information throughout the month. So here's an example of the Storm Elemental. Signum Games, or Signum Workshop, is doing Monastery of the Whispering Bamboo. Reminds me a lot of Kung Fu Panda 3, especially with the female up there, the dancer, I forget her name in the movie. Yin Mei Mei, Hua Tao, and several more. You don't need me. Different weapons and so forth, so... SolGood Studios has already shown us Farhad Daria, the male champion werewoolly rhinoceros, but here is a 3D painted render of that miniature as well. Just very impressive. Stationforge Legacy has Bogkin Infantry. Solaris Wizards. A whole regiment of wizards? That seems a little different, doesn't it? And Rotfang Plague Bearers. Stormborn Collectibles usually puts out one really nice miniature a month, and so more of that should go in the models video, but I wanted to include it here. This is the Corrupted Forest Griffin, and you can see the vines and so forth that are on its wings, the leaves. Just very nice miniature there. STL Miniatures is doing continuing with Frostgrave and Rangers of the Shadow Deep, so we see Tortured Souls and Vaplerhines. I'm not familiar with them. They look to be some sort of demonic monkey. For the set this month, they are doing Grave Robbers set. STL Miniatures is also currently getting ready for a new Kickstarter that I believe starts Tuesday, May 27th. I did not put a graphic in here about it though. Oh, there's the graves to rob. Studio Fantasms is new to my videos. I actually had a free trial for some reason. I think maybe a promotional thing. And so I said, well, let me check them out and add them to my rotation. So here we have an Annis Hag, Bullywug Warriors, the Fool, some giant catfish. Wonder if y'all have I have a lake near me that you hear tales of catfish as large as a man. So a primal heron. Those jagged teeth are pretty terrifying. And some swamp terrain. And of course Roy and Deuce, which are some gator folk. The gator is wearing Crocs. Terrain Essentials is this month doing Mermaid's Kingdom set. So if you have an interest in underwater scatter terrain, this is a great month to pick up Terrain Essentials. Here we have Relics of the Ghost Ship, like an octopus, and there's a boat. We have Oyster Bloom, some Reef Scatter, a Shellgate Trail, Shellspire Keep, Tidal Remnants, just kind of a catch-all category, I would say, but some pretty cool stuff. Threat Factory, I'll be honest, when I saw this dwarves, I had to stop and go back them. They're only $5 for the month, so you're not getting a ton of stuff compared to some other creators, but you're getting some very useful stuff here. You have some open lock compatible tiles. You can put together some mine carts and stuff like that, and I'm a Minecraft fan, so this was just kind of a no-brainer for me. Tiles from the Crypt has put out a few other renders. Here you can see all the different tiles you get on the right. On the left, you can see an example of how you can put these together to form like a bridge or like a double staircase, which we saw from before, and I just still think is pretty cool. TPK Lab has put out the May rewards. Typically, dependent on what tier you back at, you get figures and or busts and maybe some terrain as well. Here we have a devotee of the Swarm with Spiders. She's not flinching. And here, of course, she is in a bust form if you back at that tier. Here we have the High Priest of the Swarm and bust form. and a leader of the swarm combat pose. Now, what's cool about this model is it comes with different arm options or hand options, however you want to phrase that. And likewise, the bust also comes with those same options. And then the giant spider's lair. This reminds me of playing Diablo. Remember that lair, that there's always that map where there's a bunch of spiders? Especially in Diablo 3, wasn't it? Trader's Galaxy Miniatures and Games has put out this preview here. And this is actually fantasy Dungeon Denizens. So, okay. I've added it in. I'm more used to their giant robots. Twin Goddess Minis has put out the renders of their models here. Let's take a look. Mogu the Goblin Monk is a throwback, which kind of pairs nicely with Saru the Goblin Monk. Bree the Goblin Merchant. Inga the Goliath Barbarian. Now notice she comes with 3 different options. So there she is with longer ears, or if you want, she comes with some little horns and earring. Coprini the Tiefling Spore Druid. Here's Cassell the Fencer. And Libra or Ibra, I think it's Ibra the Desert Duelist. Txarli Factory has these various huts out this month. Seems to be orc and goblin inspired. Maybe it's just that jagged moon. Titan Troll Miniatures has put out the renders of their models this month. This was the only image they provided, so it looks like we have some, there's like more werewolves maybe? Maybe. But of course you get some busts, you get some figures, and I put the concept art that they had put out originally around the edge because I just thought it was kind of neat to compare how the models look to the concept art, and they do pretty well. They really capture that look. Velrock this month is doing Fledgling Heroes, and best I can tell, these do not have any names, so we'll just take a look. Wargames Atlantic is still releasing for the month of May. Here is a catch. You can just pause and read this. Pretty much everything you're getting. They've also redone their tiers as well. And apparently I'm backing Wargames. I need to double check on that. But here we have the Egyptian Pharaoh on Chariot for First Empires. Auxilia Archer Cavalry from the Decline and Fall. Here we have some Lombard Cavalry from Blood Oaths, After Rome Falls, Who Will Conquer. From Renaissance, we have the Latoni. I tried looking up how to pronounce that and I've forgotten. I can't say it. Renaissance, we also have the Ming Northern Cavalry. Lots of different options for those characters there. We also have the Ming War Cart. From Blood Oaths, we have the Khmer Ballista Elephant. Also looked up how to say that one as well. Here we have some Mummies and Zombie Head Pack for Classic Fantasy. As well for Classic Fantasy, we have Ogre Samurai. I don't think we're done with Wargames Atlantic this month. Warp Miniatures has the Saurian Host Part 1. And again, the paint job that Warp Miniatures does for their own models are always impressive. It reminds me of some of the first Warhammer Fantasy models I ever owned. They were a few lizard men. I think it was like one of those free miniatures you get each month that I tried painting with. White Angel Miniatures has Infernal Empires this month. There's a glance of everything that you'll be getting. Here we have the Infernal Apocalypsis, Infernal Arrow Wolf, and some of those on the left as well. Infernal Centaurs on the right. More Infernal Centaurs. This is Infernal Fire. Guess these are like fire elementals. Infernal Smoke Machine. And Assassin Goblins. White Werewolf Tavern this month is doing Sprites, Slimes, and Secrets. They never disappoint. Here is a look at everything you'll be getting for the month of May. Here we have Queen Irana Silver Sprout Diorama. Maybe I should add that to the models video as well. Here we have Queen Irana Silver Sprout. Helrigan Thornward. Pegasus. Thimble Thatch. Was a DM stash this month that has a very similar kind of whimsy cottage. Thimble Folks set. Are these like munchkins maybe? Maybe kin to Tom Thumb or Thumbelina? Here we have a set of jellies. How's it go? It must be jelly because jam don't shake like that, or vice versa. And here's jelly with animals. So these poor animals have become victim to these jellies or slimes. Here we have some busts. Queen Irana. Shell Silverheart. Helrigan Thornward. And a Thimblefolk. Now I'm wondering if I missed a model somewhere. Wildmesh, which I believe we've had in, has put out this fantasy release here. So we do have some not safe for work releases here. But there's lots of torso options, head options, arm options, or what would you call that? Claw options, I suppose. There's also some minions that come in several different versions to hold up the weapons, food, what have you. There are some cavalry with, I don't know what you call those things. And here are the mounts, with or without saddles, with or without riders, as well as a couple more models as well. Slight variations there, either with tree or with serpent. Witchguild Miniatures has doing Keltria God's Wrath this month, and they're supposed to have out the second release on the 15th, but I did not see it, and that would be Bicky Shortstride. Witchsong Miniatures is doing Sea Strider Behemoth, and again, they are supposed to have out on May 15th the Gallant Castle Guard, but I did not see that model render either. And then I realized I had left behind World Forge Miniatures, so let's take a look at the Elven Council Room. Really cool set, actually. So plenty of windows and doorways and versions of walls. The council table, I like in the middle here, is what, 8 chairs worth of people. You can put a fire in the middle if you so would like. And you can also add on additional outside edge people to observe and watch and chime in to the council. There is a map here. I don't quite recognize the regions of this map. It reminds me a little bit of Azeroth, but not really. elven tree, metal brazier, banner, and light. Some pretty cool stuff. Well, thanks for watching. This is review number 2, updating May 2025 releases. We're going to try to fit in one small one before the week is up if we can, because I do anticipate some more updates, and I like to keep that stuff going as I can, but a lot of creators wait till the last minute, and I can't wait quite to the last minute or else the videos are kind of pointless. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.